I just record it and we'll go from there.
Okay. I love that. Okay, just checking again, sound check. Everybody hears me? We're still doing good? All right, technology. All right, so I've got some exciting announcements. I'm gonna start off with my first big announcement, which I did announce in the group when it happened was it last week? I think it was last week, where we hit over 1,000 members in the group. Whoop, whoop, I see everybody doing the whoop, whoop. When I see this is just confirmation to me that this is real, that sugar addiction is real. It's not something made up in my head. You know, when I started I Kick Sugar almost 2 years ago, this December will be 2 years, I remember my husband, bless his heart, I love him. He is so supportive. He's my first cheerleader, and we've been together 21 years. He's amazing. But he's admitted he had doubts. He was the first one to read my course, and he was like, well, this is really wonderful, honey, but do you really think that other women are going to relate to your story? And do you really think other women suffer, you know, the way you do? Like, he just always thought that it was just me, that maybe I lack some willpower. I see that in the group from others that feel the same way. He's been a great partner and support system through all this, but he just didn't really know. He thought maybe I'd sell 1 or 2 courses. Well, let me tell you, he doesn't think that anymore. I can now say that over 3,400 women have joined the course for I Kick Sugar, and they're reclaiming their health and happiness. And I have gotten so many private messages from women via email, Facebook, Instagram, just letting me know that they felt so alone, and that they felt that their struggle was all made up, you know, and that they told me that in moments of weakness and moments when they were vulnerable and they just binged, that they prayed to God, they prayed to the universe, whatever, for a sign. And then my ad miraculously appeared. And that was just confirmation that this problem is real. So I get women reaching out to me, sharing with me their stories, like it happens in the group. And that's why I want to share with all of you. And it's right there, they're thanking me, and it validates for me my own struggle also, that it wasn't for nothing, that I didn't go through all of that, my entire life struggling for nothing, that there was a purpose, and a purpose to share my story, to write the course, to get out of my comfort zone, to show my vulnerability. And this right now, me being here with all of you right now, is me showing you my vulnerability. This is me, like the fear that I have of looking foolish, messing up, saying the wrong thing, my funny faces, because if you notice, I'm very animated. And then when I look at myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And that actually makes me really nervous. But when I speak in front of others, and yet I am daring to be courageous so that I can hopefully help other women. And I want you to know I never could have done this if I didn't kick sugar. My life changed, and it all started when I kicked it and got that stuff out of there and was able to love myself and move forward and dare to dream greatly and to pursue those dreams. And when there's enough of us, like all of us in this group, it's confirmation to me, and I hope it is to you also, that our food system, it's broken. And what we are eating, it's not food. We've been poisoned, we've been brainwashed, we've been drugged, but now we have the ability from reading this course to see the documentaries, to know the truth, and that the truth has been exposed, and that you now have the power to take back your life, to stop living on autopilot and to be in control. Now that's powerful. So I thank you all for joining me on this journey, for hitting the 1,000. I think actually we're almost up to 1,100 members, for marking, this, and for validating for me that my journey and my struggle, that it was real. And you all give me hope that things will change, that our food will change, and that our medical system will change. And I'm so thankful that you've trusted me and that you've allowed me to be a part of your healing process and your journey. So for that, I thank you. I thank you so much. With that said, I want to leeway into my latest project that I've been working on. I promised I would share it with you guys today. I designed a program where I'm going to personally walk you through each module, sharing examples, details, extra lessons, stories, facial expressions not described in the course. This is where you're going to gain extra insight and tools to kick sugar and transform your life. So many of you have reached out to me since June asking me when I had my last one, when I was going to hold the next live intensive because you wanted to join. So now is your chance to work with me face to face because I've just released my brand new spanking new IKS Live 30-day intensive, and it's going to start this October 5th. And I want to invite you to become one of the founding members today. So the IKS Live 30-day intensive is going to consist of 2 hours. We're going to be working 2 hours. It's intense. 2-hour live group sessions over 4 weeks, over the month of October, where we're going to meet every Monday for that month at 2 p.m. Arizona time. So if you miss a session though, don't worry, they're all going to be recorded for playback. Now, regularly, this will be priced at $299, and it's actually $100 less than the live intensive was. However, I'm launching the course for $147. So that's an opportunity if you're feeling like that you've been feeling you need to have a coach guide you, to hold you accountable on your journey, then this is the program for you. And starting now through midnight tomorrow, I'm going to offer an early bird special where you can take off an extra $20, making it just $127. And you can use the coupon code VIP110, VIP20. So I hope you all take advantage of it. I'd love to work with each one of you guys face to face. It's going to be a really intense but awesome course, and I hope to see you all there. And I think we're going to be posting on the sidebar in the comment section the promo, and I'll also have it linked in the group so you can learn more about it and see about that also after this call. Okay, let's talk, moving on to my next big announcement. Let's talk ambassador. Woo, woo, woo. I am so excited. So for those of you who are new to the group, this is your first time here, you may not know I have an ambassadorship program, and you can learn more about it on my main website, ikicksugar.com. On the top menu bar, it's under the About section. Just click down and it will say ambassador, where you can read all about the program and meet your ambassadors. So since July's announcement of the program, I've had a few of you actually reach out to me showing an interest in the program and wanting to know what you had to do to become an ambassador, because it's pretty awesome. So I'm always looking, first of all, in the group. So I'm always keeping my eye on all of you all day long, in search of the next ambassador. And as I mentioned on the website, these are women, if you want to know how you become one, these are women who've completed the course, they've declared their sugar freedom, and they're active daily in the group, supporting, commenting, teaching, encouraging others. It's so crucial that you do the work first. You have a clear, strong grip on the material and the philosophy, and that you lead by example. Now, it's not about perfection, but it is about progress and declaring your sugar freedom. And it's about understanding language. That language is key. You're always hearing me say that. You're always hearing Dawn say that. Language is key. Habits are key to your healthy, happy life. Bottom line, any ambassador is an extension of me and the IKS brand. So I have to be very mindful of who I vet in. With that said, I have to say I am so excited to announce the next woman who's going to be honored today, just a few moments, and who's going to be our next official ambassador to join the IKS team, helping alongside of Dawn. Now, this woman lives and breathes the IKS philosophy and truly embodies what I'm teaching about self-love, that is so crucial, and progress, not perfection. Can't emphasize that enough. She gets the work. You see me in the comments all the time saying, do the work. She really understands, really understands the language, and that our words we choose create our reality. I'm actually in awe of this woman's vocabulary and her beautiful craft with the written word. She speaks my language. And when I read her posts, the way she writes, she just moves my soul. And I'm sure she's moved a bunch of yours also. I've actually loved what she's written, comments that she's written to you guys sometimes so much that I've actually copied and pasted her answers into others' comments, quoting her. I did quote her. I didn't take it as my own. And just being like, damn, she said it better than me. Why do I need to rewrite it to this other person? I'm just going to copy and paste her. She's that good. I have personally learned so much from her, our conversations, and she's inspired me by her courage with self-loving herself. Now, this woman has lived so many lives. She's a beautiful, radiant soul, full of wealth, experiences, insights that we could all learn from. So just listen. I want to share with you a few things that she's done in your life. I think you're going to be blown away, just like I am. Okay. She was an ordained clergywoman who spent nearly 30 years as a solo senior parish pastor, writing inclusive, progressive worship, sermons, liturgy, and curriculum. Now, she's no longer with the institutional church, but she'll always be a pastor at heart. In her younger days, she was a high school volleyball and basketball coach and a substance abuse counselor, as well as a residential trauma counselor for sexually abused teens. Now, she spent time working with orphans in Uganda and in the peace movement in Germany before the Berlin Wall came down. Wow. She's also a cancer survivor and then went on to become a Live Strong cancer coach. Can you believe who your next ambassador is going to be? She's amazing. She also has 2 rare disabilities, okay? One vascular and the other neurological. And although this is her current reality, she is determined not to let it define who she is by figuring out creative ways to integrate her current limitations rather than let it deter her or stop her or define her. And she's told me that she's an adventurer at heart and a bit of a modern, curious day George. And I would definitely have to agree with that. This woman has seen and done so much, as you've just heard. She has even had the big hand of Tony Robbins. I love him. Tony Robbins pick her out of the crowd and coach her on the spot. Now that's pretty awesome. That's some energy that you've got there if he can point her out. She's even written lyrics and tunes to a song that she's had a close musical friend sing and record. Now, her song that she shared with us is in the playlist challenge. So I'm kind of giving her away right now, if you caught that. And it's called The Power of One, and it was sung by her friend Ken Medina. Now, the song reminds us of when we heal and empower ourselves, we lift and empower all. And I'm going to quote her now, where it's reach in, rise up, and shine on, sisters. Yay! I love it. Okay, so this woman has so many great stories. I'm just going to have to let her share some of them with you and not give her whole journey away here. So without further ado, I want to bring you ladies your next IKS ambassador who considers her new identity and lifestyle as a sugar crusher, refusing to let sugar be the boss of her. Ladies, please give a warm welcome. So give up some cheer here, since we can't hear, to your next ambassador. Please welcome Miss Tammy Bell. Yay!
Thank you.
Hi, Tammy.
Hello. It's a privilege and an honor to be with you and to be your next ambassador. I'm just so humbled and honored and privileged and excited.
Well, we are so happy to have you as our next ambassador. So Tammy, as you know, to make it official with all my ambassadors, I like to give away gifts and perks. So can you show everyone what you just got in the mail delivered to your house?
I can. I tried to set my camera up so I could show you. So
We've been having, woo-hoo. So this is a check that I give to all my ambassadors. Dawn got one, and this one is for Tammy for $250. Now, I'm sure it's not the biggest check amount of money she ever got, but that's why I give this big check, because I want to be able to say, I gave you the biggest check ever. And I did, okay?
And it's life transforming for me. It will really help support medical care. So thank you so much. I haven't opened this box, but there's a box. She told me I could like cut it open, but I didn't peek yet. So I'm just like opening.
Let's take a quick peek at some of the fun things you have there. For the cooler weather, tell everybody where you are.
I am in Washington State. Let me sit down so I'm not like looking at my chest. I'm in Washington State. It's actually very warm here right now, but and we're having major firestorms, but today's a little bit better. So, an awesome journal that says "Believe in Yourself."
Love it.
Key to kicking sugar, absolutely. A beautiful something that I'm not sure of. Let's see. Ooh, it looks like a bracelet, maybe?
A little bracelet. What does it say? What is the bracelet?
A little silver heart, and it says, "She believed she could, so she did." Yes. That is so absolutely. If you don't believe that you can, you won't. Yep. Absolutely won't. Ooh. An I Kick Sugar shirt. As you can see, I have the Got Health one.
And now it's official. You have the official tank.
Now it's official. I have this one. And oh my goodness. And when the snow flies, which could be sooner rather than later, like Colorado.
It will happen.
It will happen, and it will be long. Oh, this is awesome. Got Health sweatshirt.
Yes.
Lighter one. And oh, this is gorgeous. A zippered I Got Health.
And a sweat jacket. Yes. Some of you ladies have talked about wearing your swag, and it's a great way when you have to wear something like that out in public. You definitely do not put anything in your shopping cart that's full of sugar, because you'll get the stares.
No, I had my tank top on a few weeks ago, and I was just in one of that, like, not paying attention, and I went to get something, and I was like, can't do it.
Hey,
I can wear one every day of the week now. So
yeah. You know, I mean,
accountability, yes. So
occasionally I am buying something, as we've talked about, having kids and others in our household, but I'm pretty good about that with Owen. However, when COVID first started, I was shopping for my mother, who now has Parkinson's and really has a sweet tooth because she's taking dopamine as part of her medicine. So she never had a sweet tooth when I grew up watching her. And so, you know, she's asking me to buy her some sugary treats, and I'm purchasing them, and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I'm wearing my IKS swag, and I'm wondering, I think that's why people are staring at me. It was so embarrassing. I was like, it's not for me. It's not for me. I did kick sugar. So enjoy your swag in the cooler weather. So when you first purchased, Tammy, the IKS course, this was back in May, when you joined with us and you joined the Facebook group community. Did you ever think that the owner one day would be giving you a check for $250 or all this swag?
No, wasn't on my radar screen, but I'm grateful.
No. You feel good.
Received with gratitude.
Thank you, Enough, for all of your support and all of your contribution to the group, to all of us, me included, to everyone. So, Tammy, every time you and I talk, I uncover another amazing side of you that I didn't know. I mean, you just never cease to amaze me with your stories. So prior to your journey prior to IKS and leading up to finding me has just been amazing. Can you share with all of us that part of your life since January 2020, when you made that declaration to yourself, and how that led you up to this point here now?
Yeah, sure. It's a really long, complex journey that you don't need all the details to. Say, just a little cliff notes before January 2020. Starting in 1990, I had my very first surgery, a pelvic surgery. I was 24, and I've had 22 surgeries since. And in my second surgery, the surgeon made a mistake. I went in walking for a uterine surgery, and I came out not walking, put sutures through the sciatic nerve in my leg, and was in excruciating pain. And that led to a bunch more surgeries. So today I find myself without any colon, no large intestine, only a quarter of my rectum and anal sphincter, no uterus, no ovaries, and horseshoe kidneys. That combination creates a lot of challenges with food. A lot of challenges with food and dehydration and kidney function. So I've kind of lived with that for a long time, and it has not been easy. And I can tell you that even having your colon removed, nobody talks to you about your diet. In the hospital, in the doctors, in the digestive disease center, they don't talk to you about your diet, even though it's making you really sick. And then in 2010, I had a car accident. A crazy man just ran me off the road and flew his car over the top of mine. And it triggered a rare disease called complex regional pain syndrome, where your body thinks you know, how your body sends chemicals to the healing site of an injury, of a blunt force injury. And then when the injury is healed, you don't feel the pain anymore. And with CRPS, the injury heals, but your brain still says yes. And so I have neurological pain all over. And ultimately that put me in a wheelchair. And I was with excruciating pain and was expected to be in that wheelchair for the rest of my life. As you can see, I'm walking. But
yes, you are more than that.
Yeah, I've only been, I've worked my way out of my wheelchair. I moved here 4 years ago. I came in a wheelchair. So it took me 2 years to get out of the wheelchair, and then I used a cane for a year. And my visiting nurse just came yesterday. It was the first time she'd seen me without a cane.
Wow.
So I've just been without my cane for about 9 months. Yeah. So
Amazing.
it's possible. Anything's possible. So yeah, and cancer, cervical, breast, and I have multiple myeloma, that's smoldering myeloma in my blood, but it's stable. And I just live with it and don't worry about it. So that's kind of where I was in December of 1990, and in December 2019. And I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired for decades. I mean, I was beyond sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I don't know what it was that just triggered. And well, actually I do. I was at a Brendan Burchard conference, and he just said, what if, he said, you know, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And what if you are someone who doesn't have your health, what would happen if you declared 2020 the year of radically transforming your health? And that's what I did. I in December just declared that no matter what, I would stop doing anything and everything I was doing, and that my sole focus would be to see if I could do something differently to change my health. And that's what I did. I let go of some relationships, some work, the church, everything, things that meant a lot to me. But it was just, I have to love myself enough to heal. And I have not known how to do it up till this point. I've been pouring myself out and out and out to everyone else. And I was on call 24/7 for 29 years with no staff. So it was just a lot. And I managed, but that's what I did. So I started Googling. I used the Google God and just went, who can help me? And I just started making a list based on my symptoms and my diagnosis and my challenges. And I started going down that list. And I knew pain was the first thing that had to be addressed. So I got on a plane actually to Arizona, January 10th. And I spent 21 days in intensive structural therapy for connective tissue pain and fascial disorder, so that I could stand upright and walk. And within 3 days, I started having relief for the first time in 10 years. And within 10, I was having a party. I was like, oh my God, I am gonna, you know, I was at the point where pain was so painful, having a sheet on my legs hurt. So That's how significant it was. And 21 days later, I left there walking where my daily pain was usually a 7 to 8. It's now between a 1 and a 3.
Wow.
That's a huge thing. And on that flight home, I went, "You're not done because your nutrition sucks." And I made my next declaration was, when you get home, you have got to change your nutrition. And I committed to only home cooked meals for 30 days. Now, I was someone who stopped at Subway at least 3 or 4 times a week, and not for the sandwich, but for the Diet Pepsi.
Were there any cookies in there too? I used to
And
be
chocolate chip
Subway
cookies, because they knew me.
5 at a time.
They knew me so well, they'd give me cookies sometimes. Yeah, and I would give them movie tickets to bribe them to keep giving me cookies. Seriously. And then the next thing I did, in February, as soon as I got home, the other thing I did, which was a huge stretch, was I bought a ticket to the Rise Run in Texas, which is a half marathon. And I didn't run, remember, I wasn't even hardly walking. But I was like, I need something to shoot for to keep me motivated, and it was for this December. And that made me start walking. Literally, I couldn't even walk around the block yet. They only allowed me to walk 10 minutes a day at first. So that was my next declaration, then the food declaration, and then April 1st, I joined the Uncanceled Project, which was a running program where they said, you know, they can cancel everything else in this pandemic, but they can't cancel hope, love, or the human spirit. And so I had a community, and I have now logged over 400 miles walking and running, and finished 38 races, so virtual races, from a 5K to 10 miles. And I'm not going to Texas because of the pandemic, but I will do my half marathon before the end of the year. So, and then in May, I was fine one day, and I woke up the next day and I couldn't walk again. And I was in so much pain, and I went to the doctor and was diagnosed with actually my 3rd rare disease, which they had thought for a few years, but had never been able to confirm, which is a connective tissue disease called Ehlers-Danlos, and you disjoint and stuff. So I had to stop running because the way most people die from Ehlers-Danlos is an aneurysm. So no contact sports or running, but I'm still walking. So. And then in June, I found I Kick Sugar. So I had already started, you know, changing my diet and doing all that, but sugar had a stronghold. I mean, literally, my mom streamlined it in utero with a 6-pack of Pepsi a day. Literally, when they had the little bottles, glass bottles. And I grew up on Twinkies and Lucky Charms and owned a candy store by the time I was 11 and taste tested everything. And sugar was just, and I had all the information. I had been to Hippocrates Health Institute and done the raw food diet. I'd been to Living Foods Institute in Atlanta and tried there. I had tried every kind of diet. I'd been to the Macrobiotic Institute. I just couldn't stick with them when it got hard because I hadn't done the other work.
Right, the internal work.
Not done the internal work. And I found I Kick Sugar, and it was just like light bulb, because I'd watched the sugar film. I had done I had all the information that I could want, but I had not made that 12-inch trip from my head to my heart that said, girl, what is going on underneath there? That you can have a conversation in your head when you stop at Subway that says, I'm going to feel sick after this. Because if you don't have a large intestine or a rectum, you have diarrhea all the time. If you add food in that gives you more, you're in trouble. And I still would do it. I still would self-sabotage myself. And that just clicked. I went on a run one day and I listened to all the modules all the way through, which I know Joyce does not recommend, but it worked for me because I had committed also that after I listened to them all the way through, I would go back the next day but I just stayed out on the road until I got through all of them because I had to break my denial.
Wow.
Because I did not want to give up sugar. And I was eating maybe 3/4 of what I had eaten before, but I was still eating a quarter of it. And that quarter, it doesn't matter how much. It doesn't matter if it's 3 bites of a brownie for me. That doesn't mean that's for someone else, but for me. Or if it meant I ate the whole pan, which I was never a binger, but it was always every day something. Always that one cookie, always that one bite of something, always that drink. And yeah, so then I started the next day doing the modules and just digging down into what was there. And I really just came up with a boatload of grief. After every doctor's appointment, I think I wrote this to somebody this week, I stopped for something, fast food, sugar, something, as comfort, because I've lived alone forever. There's no one that I'm going to come home to that's going to say, how you doing after that hard thing, after that treatment, after that whatever. So just that little break was my transition back. And yet I just felt horrible. So yeah, and that has, I bought those, and then I didn't start right away. I think I waited a couple weeks until June because I was working on something else. But from June till now, I've lost 20 pounds, and I've logged a total of 400 miles walking, and I've had to go down a shirt size. Joyce had to send me a smaller shirt.
I did. That's why you didn't get it.
I know.
You have a big IKS sugar hanging around somewhere. And I was like, I'm out of that small size. I'll have to send you the Got Health instead. And now today you're getting your official one.
I know. So that's, yeah, I was sleeping better. I had never slept over 4 hours a night in 20 years. And so I was always exhausted. And here's the reality. I still have 40 pounds to lose. My body fat is high. But it's just slow and steady every day progress. Yes. And I am not saying, I'm going to lose such and such amount of weight by such and such a time, because it's not about a diet.
Yes.
It is literally, for me, I want to live as a healthy person who loves her life, who enjoys her life, and who loves food, who isn't at war with food all the time.
Right.
And who isn't thinking about food when she's not eating it. Because I want to use that brain space for other things.
Oh, I love it. What an amazing journey. I mean, you had that epiphany, that moment where you just made that decision back in January that you weren't going to continue to live your life like this anymore. And you've taken control, and look what has happened to you. Amazing. So you are such an inspiration to all of us. Yes. Give a round of applause to you. You've had such an epic life. I mean, so many mountains you've climbed, literally. Dragons slayed. I've seen the pictures. They're in the group. Go look up Tammy. The gorgeous settings of hikes that she's gone on. I mean, dragons you've slayed, battles you've won. I mean, what is the biggest lesson you feel that you've learned from all of these experiences that you could share with us?
Well, there are a few, but I think it boils down to, honestly, a couple of things. Ultimately, personal responsibility. And the reality is, I know from looking outside, people say, you have all the reason to be upset with surgeons who made mistakes, and guys that ran you off the road, and I'm a sexual abuse survivor. And I could have just said, those are all the reasons I'm like this and ended up like this. But the reality is, it's still my life. And I have to take personal responsibility and love myself forward. I can't always change, and no one can, none of you can, what might happen to you in this life. And I know, because I know the statistics on the things that happen to women, I'm not alone sitting in this many women of some of the things that have happened to me. And we can't always change our circumstance or the things that happen, but we always 100% of the time get to choose our response to them. And we might not be able to choose it in that very moment while we're in the midst of a trauma or a crisis, but the quicker we can close the gap, the better we're gonna be for ourselves. And it really comes down to loving yourself enough to stop negotiating on the promises and commitments you make to yourself.
Yes.
When I got my diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos a few months ago, I was devastated running was the first time in 20 years I finally felt like I was back in my athletic body, my athletic self. I felt emotionally and mentally stronger and better, and physically, and I was starting to drop weight. And it was a blow. And it took me 2 weeks of just really grieving and resisting and fighting, because I'm like, I don't want to be a walker. I want to be a runner. You know, and I was mad that it felt like it got stripped away.
Right.
But ultimately, I was only then becoming my own abuser and betrayer if I stopped and didn't find an alternative. You know, and it's just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big thing. We just have to stop being our own abusers and betrayers by negotiating out of our commitments.
Yeah, that is so powerful. Powerful insights, powerful advice. I hope all of you are taking heart to that and really sinking that in. Write that in your journals when you get off today. Remember that. It's so key. I mean, what advice would you give your fellow tribe sisters, speaking of advice, when working through the modules? How about that?
Well, so I'll be honest, I didn't buy the course book right away. I bought the audio thinking that'd be enough, right? But I also know, because I've been through enough personal development stuff and just life, that it's very different to take in information and do the work. So I think that's the other tip I would say is we have to stop lying to ourselves. We actually know, we give ourselves so many escape actions, and we have to tell ourselves the truth. And I had to tell myself the truth that, like, you know that one of the reasons you don't want to get the course book is because it's the next level of stepping up and giving up sugar, you know, because you can listen to those things on your run, but stepping down and journaling and doing the tests, and, you know, when you're on your run, you're going to forget what the tasks are. So I think that would be the advice I would get. Is just, you know, it's $39. Is that, yeah. And
bundle package.
if you're still drinking Starbucks or McDonald's, like, it's, you know, that's your they're more than $3 a day. And, you know, if you want to pay $3 per module, like, it's going to guarantee support you more than deplete you. Unlike those things. And then print it out. I didn't at first, but we spend so much time on the screen, and I think it's easier to numb out. So I live a zero waste lifestyle, so I really try not to print things out. I don't use plastic and stuff, but I did, because you have to compromise where it's for your own benefit. And I didn't get it all bound nicely and stuff because that's more plastic to me. So I just put it on a clipboard, but then that way it's a hard surface. I can write wherever I'm at. And that's been so beneficial. And I have a couple journals, which I totally, I have my 2020 vision, which I keep my 10 things that I'm focusing on for my vision, and then just a journal where I can just put all my crap that I'm, like, trying to process through.
They're so pretty. I love them. I'm into pretty journals.
I know. So I think those are really key. And if you're not a journal, don't use it as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Just have a conversation with somebody, you know, and it doesn't matter. And I think the other thing that I would say is, after watching people in the group and listening, just stop complicating things.
Yes.
It really is an avoidance tactic, and it's a sneaky little bugger, because IKS, what Joyce has created, it's really simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy.
Right.
Okay. So you have to do the effort. And I think oftentimes if you hear yourself, oh, but, you know, I need to get the course book looking pretty, or my pantry doesn't look like Instagram, or I don't have exactly this, or so-and-so's not quite supporting me. It doesn't matter, really. Just quit complicating it. That's head stuff. Your heart knows what to do. And then I guess the other couple of things is just stay active in the group. And if you find that you find yourself drifting away, because drift is sneaky, because you're going to tell yourself, I'm too busy, right? Because we're all busy. We'll just choose then to get off of other social media that isn't supporting you. Stop reading horrible political posts and quarantine posts and you know, celebrity posts that are making you feel worse about yourself. Stop living other people's lives and start creating your own by giving yourself even 2 minutes to check in the group. And this is another tip that I think is so important. And I think people do it as a sneaky avoidance way of our own vulnerability, is before you ever read and comment on anybody else's posts, post something yourself about yourself and what you're going through. Because what we often do is we spend like 15 minutes scrolling through other people's posts, commenting, we feel great because, right, we supported other people. But the biggest lesson of IKS, you have to love yourself first.
Yes.
You have to show up for yourself first.
Yes, show your vulnerability. Show your vulnerability.
So people can support you.
Yes.
Because it's also another tricky way. We don't put ourselves out there for support because we sometimes don't actually really want to be held accountable.
Yeah.
So don't believe the lie. And we're also trained to be, right, as women, martyrs and caregivers. So it feels good and we get a lot of affirmation for doing that for other people. But then we leave and we still feel empty because we didn't get what we needed.
Right.
And that's really the work of the course, is to learn to ask for what we need, to show up and take up space and say, I'm worth taking up space. And I don't get all this. I'm confused. I am hurting. I'm whatever. And yet I'm still going to show up, and I don't have to be pretty to be beautiful.
Yes.
I can be here in my ugly cry and I'm still a beautiful soul. So that would be the biggest things. And I think the last thing that really helped me on my whole journey this year is an exercise I created for myself called I Am. And I started it when I wanted to be a runner. And that is, and you could do it for sugar, and I'm doing that now, is to take on the identity of someone who doesn't eat sugar before you're someone who doesn't eat sugar.
Yes.
And the way I literally did that, I'll just use running as an example, is I'd never run, but I'd always wanted to. So I just started investigating, how do runners live? What do they do? I bought running magazines. I went and got fit for shoes at a good running store. I started watching running videos. And then I literally got really specific. Well, runners would put their shoes by the door, and it would be the first thing they do in the morning because the runners knew that's what they did. Runners wouldn't stop at Subway if they want to complete a half marathon. They'd fuel themselves better. And I had a list of probably 50 things. A runner wouldn't stay up until 1 a.m. She'd go to bed at 9 and get rest so she could be rested for her run. And I would just really encourage you to do that. What does a healthy person look like for you?
Yes, that's so powerful. That's actually, we did that. Dawn, you probably recall that. That's one of the extra exercises I had my group do for the live intensive, which we'll be doing also in the IKS live, is creating that identity. You have to create that before it can even become a reality. You have to envision it. Otherwise you don't know what it looks like. And it's doing all those things that you just said and putting it into words and then making it into reality and having all of that there. And then slowly you morph in and you become it. It's just becomes who you are. Something as simple as a magazine. Yeah. So working as a counselor and coaching women, I mean, you gave us a lot already. You've in all different areas and arenas and times in your life doing this. I'm sure you've seen a pattern, and you've touched on some of them, a common theme that holds women back from their joy. Can you share with us? I think you might have already.
I think I did.
Re-emphasize this again. You can say it one last time so they can hear it. This is another way for it to be said. What's the thing that holds women back, from their joy, these insights and wisdom? Just share that with us. Even if you said it before, I'd love for you to say it one more time again in one sentence, if you can.
Lack of self-love.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, really look at your history of being a martyr. We're trained to be martyrs. Yeah. And caretakers and accommodators. And we get something out of that. So look at what you get out of it.
Right. But there's a cost and there's a price for it.
There's an absolute cost because we abandon our pleasure and our power when we do that. And one of the things I think we get out of it is we mistake approval for love. Yes. And here's the real truth, and something that I've learned, and I can guarantee you, when you put Reverend in front of your name, people have a certain expectation of how you're supposed to behave and dress and speak and whatever. Okay, but true confessions, I learned to curse in seminary. So I never said a curse word before I went to seminary. And the church can really bring it out in you. But I have a little sign on my desk that says, get your halo dirty. Really, get your halo dirty. Stop trying to please everyone but yourself.
Yeah.
And love
so
yourself.
powerful.
Just love yourself enough to pull back from the things you're pouring into others, so you have the space and time and energy to pour it into you.
Yeah.
That'd
Tammy.
be the best thing I could say. That's what stops us from our joy, because then we start resenting other people, right? But we train them how to teach. We train them how to treat us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So powerful. Such great advice. Thank you. Before we go though, we're going to wrap it up here shortly. I mean, I've got to ask you to share your story briefly with us, with your encounter with working with the gentle giant, Tony Robbins himself. So can you share a little bit about that? I mean, you even have a picture, I think, with him.
Oh, I have lots of pictures of him.
I'd love for you to post some of those in the group later. I'd like to see that. So tell us how that happened. What was that like?
Yeah, well, so ultimately I went on to train with him through his Mastery University for a year.
Wow.
So that was back in 2000, so it's been 20 years. Wow. But that was my first, I don't even know if he still calls it Unleash the Power Within.
Yeah, I remember that.
And my mother, it was on her bucket list. And thank God I did it, because she died 2 years later. And so I'm so grateful we did it. But I took my parents to this event. And they'd never been to anything like it. It was in Denver. It was the last day of the program, so it was getting really, really intense. And we were down to the big question, what is your most limiting belief? And at that time, I held the limiting belief that I was the ugliness of everything that had ever happened to me.
Wow.
I was a victim of rape who was tied up and tortured at knife point. I had all of the medical things. I had other abuse things that happened to me for a long period of time. And I had really embodied that not that those things happened to me, but that I was those things, that I was the reflection of those crooked scars and events in my life. And that's the energy I carried. And I have zero memory, and then people sitting around me say they didn't see me do it either. But I was quite a ways back, and he was up on the stage, and he said, you who raised your hand. I'm like looking around for who raised their hand, because I did not raise my hand. I had no desire. And he just started describing what I was wearing. And then he literally jumped off the stage and started running towards me. And he literally has a giant hand. It's bigger than a basketball. And he put it on the top of my head, just boom. And I come up to his armpit, and I'm 5'7". So, wow. And he just said to me, looked me straight in the eye and said, do you want this to be slow and painful or quick and painful? And he's like,
either way, it's going to be painful.
And that's literally what I said. I said, so what you're saying is either way, it's going to be painful. And he said, yes. And I said, then let's get it over as fast as possible.
Wow.
And that would be a life lesson, I guess I would share here. It's been something I have lived by forever. I worked with him for over 2 hours in a crowd of 3,000. I became known as the Denver breast girl, because he made me do this crazy thing about grabbing my breasts and doing to interrupt a pattern that he couldn't get me out of. It was so humiliating.
Your breast, or he made you grab your own breast?
He made me grab my own breast.
Your own breast like that?
And do just because he was trying to interrupt this pattern. And then he started asking me about my rape. I had not told my parents. And he asked me a question that I knew they didn't know about sexual abuse by a female coach.
Wow.
He just had a sense that there was more than my rape by the man when I was 14. And the coach that I told about that and sexually abused me in some pretty horrific ways that did most of the pelvic damage that I had.
Wow.
And I just froze, and I started shaking, and I said, Tony, my dad is here. I can't, my dad is here. And he just looked at me and said, do you want to please your dad, or do you want to get well?
Mm. I'm tearing up. So
And
powerful.
and I guess that's the other lesson I just leave you with. Like,
So
do you want
powerful.
to get well? Do you want to get healthy? Or do you want to make the people around you happy? But here's the thing. When we try to do other people's work for them, we strip them of their power too. When we're always caretaking everyone else, they never have to rise up.
Yeah.
So that codependency isn't helping them either.
Mm.
It's the hardest thing I did, because I mean, you know, it's recorded into perpetuity, and I'm in 3,000 people, and my parents were there. But you know what? Then we went and did our firewalk, and, you know, and it opened doors for us. But yeah, it was life changing for me, and started a lot of roads. It has not been an easy journey, but it's just one choice after another, just one small choice every day. It doesn't matter what it is. I didn't get from there or from wheelchair to walking by getting it all right the day I decided to.
Yeah.
It's just every day making the next best choice and taking the next step that I can. And that's enough. That's enough. It's everything. It's everything. And every single one of us, I'm looking at these beautiful faces and I'm like, every single one of you sitting here and listening that aren't here, you have all the power within you that you ever need to do everything you've ever wanted. If you stop lying to yourself and living smaller than you're created. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it is really simple. And we're all here together. God, we're so blessed. So many people in the world don't have this.
Yeah.
This place, the privilege of this kind of place to come and be vulnerable and to support and to lift one another up. So I'm so grateful and honored and humbled by the stories and the struggles you all go through in all kinds of ways, but also I'm just, I celebrate your beauty and magnificence in all the ways that maybe you don't see yet, but it's all there. It's all there.
We're going to get it out of them. We're going to get it out of them for sure. You're all going to see what we see. Because like Tammy said, what we see is pure beauty, pure potential, pure joy. And that's what this course is about, is you guys seeing that beauty within yourselves. What a powerful story. Oh my gosh. You got several. I saw several of you in tears with that. It was just so moving, so empowering. So one final last question, Tammy, for you. Do you officially accept my invitation to be the next IKS ambassador?
Yes, with wild enthusiasm. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Accepted. It's official. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And you all see the gold that we have with Miss Tammy Bell in our group now. The magnitude and wealth that she has to offer us. And we're just so blessed, and I'm so honored and thankful that you've accepted and that you found me. So thank you all for being on the call tonight, for welcoming Tammy. And remember, if you're passionate and committed to building a future for yourself, the IKS brand, and you're ready to take your nutrition, your health, your happiness to the next level, if you love helping others and serving just the way Dawn, Tammy, myself love to help in the community, then you might be ready to be the next ambassador. You might be ready for the ambassador program. So remember, I'm always watching all of you. Now, to see Tammy's bio, I have posted it. It's up on the IKS ambassador page, so you can read about it as well as Dawn's. And I'll make that known in the group as well, but it's just on the ikicksugar.com website. I'll also have this meetup playback available for you guys within the next 24 hours, available in our Facebook group. And remember, the VIP 20 promo code for the live intensive, the next 30-day that starts in October, that promo code will only last till the end of tomorrow, Friday night. So you can use the link. I think Dawn might be posting it also in the comments, but we'll post that for you also in the group. And I hope to see you all there. I mean, if you enjoyed, this is a feel of what the October live is going to feel like. You know, there's some lessons for me, and then it's opened up to questions and answers and a sharing and relating and really allowing me to dig deep with all of you on what your stories are, what's holding you back, examples you've got to be ready to share. It's going to be awesome. So you can read more about that when I send you some information about that. So ladies, thank you all for taking the time out. I appreciate it. I thank you all. I love you. And together we all can kick sugar. Woo!
Yes.
Yes.